Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another YouTube edition of the whole show. It's a great Monday after a long Thanksgiving weekend. I'm ready to get back at it, man. There was a lot of interesting games going on throughout the weekend. Saturday, I was in attendance to see UNC CSU. Man, that basketball game was fantastic. That was a lot of fun. CSU's the real deal, man. There's no doubt. That was a great game. This offense, I love watching them in late game situations. It's like a calming force comes over them, and Isaiah Stevens just runs the show late. But let me tell you, we got to talk more about UNC. We will talk more about UNC, but that's not what today's video is about. CSU football. The season is over, thankfully, and I hate saying thankfully because we've had a great relationship with a lot of players throughout the years, especially this year. Scott Patchin has been a great friend of ours, doing the Scott Patchin show each and every week here on KFK. That the player network that KFK has grown has been a lot of fun. We get to we develop a relationship with these guys, and Scott, of course, is a Steve Addazio guy. So Scott would come on and talk, pretty highly of Coach. And let me be fair here. We haven't interviewed Steve Addazio this year. We did not get him on the program throughout the season. I think we talked to him in the pregame show that we did down in Denver, the huddle, the coaches huddle or whatever, and it was a fine conversation. But Saturday was bad. Saturday was rough. You already have a fan base that I don't even want to say on the fence, according to Twitter and people we talk to through the show and the text line. They're not happy. Now, I have remained, I don't want to say neutral, but I've said that Addazio is going to be back next year for the simple fact that you got to give a coach 3 years, maybe even 4, or a full recruiting cycle to really see what you got. And so he gets ejected, late in that first half. We don't know what he said. He said that he told the refs, you got to do better, or we got to be better, or something like that. I guess maybe time will tell. I don't know if we'll find out more. But if that's what he said, okay. A strange reason to throw somebody out. That's frustrating. And if that's all he said, then I would stand by him and be like, why would you throw the guy out? Either way, you're down. Was that 30-0 at that point to Nevada? I mean, this game got out of control fast. 17,000 fans. Is that what Kevin Lytle, our boy from the Colorado, posted? I didn't go. I went to the CSU basketball game against UNC on Saturday. I watched from home. I get to see more anyway. I like watching from home a little bit more anyway, especially when it comes to football. Basketball, a little different. It didn't look like 17,000 from the views we were seeing, but again, I don't know. I didn't go. I'm not going to go through and count everybody. It was student, Thanksgiving week was students were out, so okay, there's that. But CSU football is in a bad spot right now. And Coach Addazio talking at the end of the press conference, and let me just say this: Kevin Lytle and Justin Michael from DMVR Rams, Eddie Hers from the Reporter Herald, and Mike Brohart from CSURams.com, great guys that ask a lot of tough questions, and some people say they're not tough enough. It's like, dude, you want to keep the relationships. You want to be able to get these interviews with coaches and players. I don't need you to grill these guys. I think they ask fair questions. I really do. I've noted that all year. I think they ask fair questions. So anyway, people calling them out saying they should really be holding Addazio's feet to the fire. I'm not one of those guys. I appreciate you. But Addazio talking about the fact that there's a lot of work that needs to be done when he got here. Oh, it's just, you guys don't realize. Okay, I'm going off the top of my head here, but didn't Bobo coach 5 years? Didn't he go 7-6, 7-6, 7-6? He was Mr. 7-6. They went to bowl games. And then his last 2 seasons, one was the health issue, and then the next was kind of followed up with that. I think he did five years, if I'm not mistaken, and 2 bad seasons. But it was an offense that can move the ball, and they were in games. So I guess when I hear college coaches especially, or any coach to be honest, talk about how, when I got here, oh gosh, this was awful. I I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. I'm not a big fan of especially. I mean, I was just starting to cover CSU a little bit more with my show when Jim McElwain was the head coach for the Rams. I had a good relationship with Jim, but I don't remember hearing him throw Fairchild or anything under the bus all the time and say, "Man, there's so much work to be done. I gotta, you got to give me some more patience." I just feel like Adazio could be helping his case a lot more by the way he addresses the media. I really do. I think that could make a huge difference. And then of course he's doing this. We're this close. That's hard to sell to a fan base that just saw you win only 3 games this year and no rivalry games. You had some tough losses early to teams like Vanderbilt and an FCS team in South Dakota State. And it just kind of got worse. I mean, they had that moment where they battled early. They beat Toledo, and then they come back after a loss to Iowa. They beat San Jose State, which was a huge win at the time. And then they beat New Mexico, and you're thinking, okay, this team's feeling good. And then after that, it just kind of went haywire. You were up against Boise State. You had a chance to put them away. You didn't. The Wyoming game was just rough. Hawaii, that situation. I mean, it just got worse. You had a little bit of a peak, but not much. It's hard to sell that to a fan base and say we're this close. Now, the other thing is, when you look at things that he's saying as far as you guys aren't seeing it, the media is not seeing what we're really doing back here. And I had asked our friend Scott Patchen, which, by the way, monster game for him again. I'm not supposed to say it out loud. The guy's going to be in the NFL. I said, I talked to him on his show when we were still doing that. I'm not doing it anymore because football's over. I said, don't you think that it would be better if Adazio would give us some of those examples? What are those building blocks? Like, what is it? Is there a new recruiting system? There's a new system we're bringing in. Because I think when a lot of people are looking at the situation of okay, you're 3-9. He's won 4 games total in 2 years. The transfer portal lost a lot of great players. You had great players, 4 or 5 really great players, 3 maybe NFL guys, right? 3 or 4, and you weren't able to get any more than 3 wins. It's hard for us as a fan base to sit back and say, okay, I trust you. You got ejected from the last game. And that's, again, maybe the truth will come out. If that's all he said, then he shouldn't have been ejected. But usually there's more than that, I would say. But who knows? Not going to accuse him if I don't know the facts on that side of it. Let me just say this. I've enjoyed interviewing Steve Adazio. He's the kind of coach that I want to root for. The ground and pound, build around the lines, the defensive line, offensive line, all that stuff is great. But it's about wins and losses. And if you're not winning early on, you got to find something to make us feel good about the situation going forward. And saying and getting almost mad when you say things like, hey, you guys don't understand what we're doing back here. Fans that know football know what we're doing. That's an insult to all Rams fans. So because you're frustrated that you've won 4 games in 2 seasons, 1 COVID year, I get it, but still 4 wins. You can't tell fans that they're not football people just because they're critical. That's when you get into hot water. I mean, I played high school sports, so I get crap all the time when I'm talking sports. Like, hey, you didn't even play at the college level. It's like, no. You don't have to have this great knowledge of the game. You don't have to have played the game to be able to have takes and opinions as a fan. So I'm going to stick up with the fans on that one. It's a frustrating situation. At the end of the day, this whole thing is very frustrating. What's going to happen? The buyout goes down from in the 5 millions to what, 3 million after December 1st or December 2nd, whatever it is. Will he be back? Should Joe Parker bite the bullet and fire Steve Adazio and start the process over again? A week ago, I said no. I said you gotta let him play it out, and that's what my gut still tells me. But it's really hard for me to do that today. Saturday was as bad as it could get. And you're hoping for a win, but it's Nevada. So, I mean, you're not thinking there's going to be a win there. But it's a 3-point spread. So it's not like everybody thought that this was going to be a monster blowout. It's 14-0 before I could even sit down. So it went as bad as it could possibly go. And, you're left with wondering what's next. Trey McBride's gone. Scott Patchen's gone. Toby McBride's gone. You got some pretty good players that should be at the next level are gone. So how do you sell it to the fan base that it's going to be better next year? What are the expectations next season? What are his expectations next season? Do you have any patience for it anymore? I'm not so sure. And again, it's tough because I have a philosophy of, as a fan, I always like to see college coaches. I say, hey, you gotta let them go through a recruiting cycle. But he's not doing anything to help himself. It's calling out the media, almost calling out the fans in some way. Not necessarily. Now, I don't want to put words there, but saying things like, hey, if you're a football fan, you know what we're doing here. Or if you know football, you know what we're doing here. Now, here's the thing. There's a good majority of people that go to games that are not like X's and O's football. They just enjoy the game. You can enjoy going to the movie The Avengers and not know the entire background of Marvel, but you can still enjoy it and pay money. Sorry, I had a nerd connection. You can still pay money to go watch games in the NFL, in college football, and not know everything about football. So I have a problem with that. Again, I have a problem with there was a lot of work to be done. I liked Mike Bobo. Did I think it was time for him? It felt like, with his health issue that he had the year before when they moved on, was adding to his stress. I don't know that I was completely done with Bobo just yet, but I felt like the stress was there. And I don't know this, but I almost like Parker and Bobo were like, maybe it's time to just call this what it is. But let's not forget, he had 3 seasons in a row, his first 3 seasons of bowl season. He didn't do well against rivalries. I mean, I think he won 2 rivalry games his first year, and then after that, didn't do it. Is that correct? This is off the cuff. I don't have stats or anything in front of me right now. This is off of memory, which is getting worse by the year. So I don't really like that, calling that out, saying, hey, there was a lot of work to be done here. There was a lot of stuff going on. We had to rebuild. And it's like, okay, that's college football, isn't it? You deal with another coach's people, guys that buy into that philosophy. And I get it. I understand that he wants to build a philosophy, and when you have players still left over from the last regime, that's hard to do because the buy-in and all that jazz. I get it. Not everybody's Trey McBride, who was, at least sold on Adazio's vision for this year. Didn't work out, which is a really unfortunate thing for especially Trey McBride, because that guy is an all-class guy, both physically and just as a dude. There's an Adazio reference. But seriously, Trey was so much fun to watch and really fun to talk to. And boy, it's tough to see it go down quite like that. It was cool to see him get the fake punt for a touchdown, or the punt rush, whatever you call that. Scott Patchen with the pancake block. Did see it. There's a lot of venom surrounding Steve Adazio throughout the weekend. Twitter was going crazy, and I get it. I don't see why it wouldn't. My big thing, though, is when I hear Steve Adazio say things like, hey, you guys don't know what's going on in the background. You don't see what we're doing, and, as we're building this thing, the media doesn't see it, the fans don't see it. Let us see it, Maybe if we had some more hope. But what you do see is players entering the transfer portal. We had Ellison Hubbard. Love that guy. Great friend. Still to this day. Entered the transfer portal after 4 weeks? So he can still be eligible for next season. And he didn't have anything bad to say about Addazio, to be fair, on my show or even in person, and off the record. But he did make mention that he didn't really talk to Addazio much. Barely talked to him. That's weird. One of your leaders, one of your seniors that's been there for a while, and you're not talking to him. That's weird. That's a weird thing. Again, I don't know how that dynamic works. There's a lot of players that play on a college football team. Is that normal? Maybe it is. Maybe it's normal for, I remember talking to George Karl, Nuggets coach from several years ago, stud, 6th winningest all-time coach in the NBA. There's several times he said if players on the team in the offseason, whatever, I didn't get to know them. Just called them by their number, whatever. And people would ask him, he'd said people would ask him, like, why don't you say his name? That's disrespectful. He's like, hey, do something for me on the floor and I'll start calling you by name. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. And I'm not necessarily making that a big deal. That's what it is. My gut tells me Addazio is going to be back. So I guess Samuel L. Jackson would say in Jurassic Park, hold on to your butts. Or just enjoy basketball season, because that's fun. CSU's got St. Mary's on Saturday. Before that, they play Little Rock. I got all my schedules up on a cork board there, so I can't remember it all. That was fun, CSU and UNC. So get into basketball, set football aside. I don't know if Addazio is going anywhere. In fact, I'm at this point where I'll say I'll be shocked if he's not back next year. Can he turn it around? Boy, wouldn't that be one of the biggest turnarounds for CSU? This guy, if you ask a fan, for the most part, they're done with him. But we'll see. That's we got a couple of days until what, the 1st or 2nd? Is it the 1st or 2nd when his buyout drops? A couple mil. I guess we'll find out. The whole show's coming up on 103.1 and 1310 KFKA, 1310kfk.com. We're talking Broncos today. We're talking Colorado State, elaborating on this discussion. We're talking basketball. Nuggets are at Miami tonight. Is Joker going to be there? I know his brothers are going to be there. Is Joker going to play? That wrist issue. Nuggets are now on a 6-game losing streak. Got to stop the bleeding. Without Joker, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Tune in. Follow us at thewholeshow.com. Got blogs coming out later this week, as well as podcasts and information there. We'll talk at you soon. Looking forward to the show today. It should be a really fun time. 12 to 2 Mountain Time on 103.1 and 1310 KFKA, 1310kfk.com as well. Goodbye, Hooligans.